Wright Tree Service is proud to have been founded on a strong set of family values. The history of our company's founders impacts Wright Tree Service as it grows and evolves.
I actually got to meet John L. and Harriet. When I was very young, 6, 7 years old, I used to come up to the corporate office whenever my dad had to move a piece of equipment, and John L. would take me out in the lot, show me the equipment, and put me up on the equipment.
His passion was, it never stopped. He loved the business, and he was a great family person. He knew people all over the United States, and everybody looked at him the same way. They were always glad to see him. Just the kind of person you want to be around.
They had talked about just selling the company, but Harriet was insistent that, John can do this, and he was sure he could do it.
He was a great friend and mentor to me. He was a quiet man, very intelligent.
He was a complex person. He was a great, very staunch businessman, but at home he had one-liners that kept me in stitches all the time. I never knew what he was going to say next. And he really had quite an outgoing personality at home. But in reality, he was an introvert, very smart, very, very smart, and a good businessman, and great at negotiations, because you never knew for sure what he was thinking.
John R. was the marquee for Wright Tree Service. He was the person that everybody knew who he was. He made it out to the field. He had great morals and integrity, and that was the anchor for the company for my generation.
So that, it wasn't always roses for him, but he turned it around to make it a wonderful company. It was difficult for him, but he did it. He did a great job.
Yeah, the transition to the employee ownership was, I think, one of the best moves the company's ever made.
He'd had a tough, year and a half. He sat up at night, smoking, thinking. He'd go to bed, he'd get up, and up and down all night long for weeks at a time. About 6 months later, he had a triple heart bypass. And I relate that to stress, all that. And then a year later, he got diagnosed with cancer.
The Wright family had a choice at that time to sell out to a competitor or do something different. And of course, there were very few of us that wanted to work for a competitor.
Before John passed away, he wanted to solidify that feeling of family.
And he also knew that he had strong management in place who could take it over.
We had a management meeting, and John stood up in the group and said, I'd like to sell the company. My first choice is to sell it to management. I will let Scott and Terry be in charge of that, or Terry, our CFO today still. And I'll give you 9 months to come up with an idea of how this might work.
And finally, somehow we ended up pursuing the ESOP. Nobody was sure that it would work. But as the process unfolded and we worked at it, and it took well over a year, more and more we became comfortable with it. We were excited about it and became more confident that it was going to be a success.
The last thing he said to me the day that the ESOP, all the paperwork was finished, he said, he was in tears, and he says, I can't believe I'm selling the company. We are making so many good moves, so many things are happening, and I'm selling the company. But he knew, and a month later he was gone. So it was time, and it was the right decision. It was the right decision to do that. When he was ready to turn over the reins to Scott Packard, we met Scott and Amy at a restaurant to talk about business and everything. And one thing he said to me in the car was, he said, Scott and Amy have a good relationship and they believe in family values. And that was very important to him, that Scott, who was going to replace him at the helm, was going to have the family values that he had, that he thought was very important.
We went from being very proud that we had all these utility companies, waiting for us to go and help them out, and we kind of held it as a badge and a badge of honor that we were high quality, and we want all these people were standing in line waiting for us to be there. And when Scott came, it was why make them wait? If they want us to come, here we come. And if will we have some growing pains? Absolutely, but we're not gonna wait no more. And the growth just came right after that.
It's something that I felt like we had to do at Wright to survive as Wright. We had to grow, or we could just stop. And everybody on my team said, let's grow it, and we did. Put a lot of time and effort and strategy and tactics to do that.
The company has always expanded. It just seems every year the exciting news is where are we working now, and every year still does that. We still always gain a new area, a new location on the map.
I think he would look at this, and I know he's looking down at us and going, wow. He has to go, wow. This company has survived and surpassed any dream he ever thought. It's just amazing what Scott and Will and Terry and the whole management team, what they've done, and still kept the legacy of the family business.
I think one thing that I think we've carried on that the Wright family had was a very strong sense of values.
The values are one of those things that were instilled with us from the Wright Tree Service family, and I think we keep each other accountable when we go to work every day.
The biggest thing is the people, and the people we hire are reflective of the people that currently work here, and our focus is on our employees, and I think that's our biggest benefit, is that to our customers, that we have good people.
Even today, those are the things that I miss.
He said many times that his employees were his biggest asset. And I heard it once, I heard it 20 times. My employees are my biggest asset. And he really, truly believed that. And I think that tradition is carried on currently to today's management.